on social media, you might see um, me like, mountain biking or camping or, on a boutique hotel or cooking something. But in reality, 80% of my time, I probably spend staring at a screen. That's the reality.
Yeah.
So when the bad times happen, if you start something and if you survive, when the good times happening, you are up on the game. That's where the opportunities. You just need to find those opportunities and jump on it when no one else is doing. So one thing I would looking back, I would do differently is I would have a co-founder. Thank God for those rejections. If those rejections didn't happen, I would have given up. So what happens is when people rejects me, I kind of take it personally, because in our industry, power is everything. People, the electricity, internet, computers, that's really what matters for us to keep going. And when you lose one of those, it's very challenging. So they would come there and we work Friday night to Monday morning. We probably would sleep Friday night, Saturday night for 4 to 5 hours. And then we would put like 40 plus hours of work, which is equal to a week worth time, right? But what happened was one of those guys really got burned out, understandably, because they also had a full-time job, day job. Our website looked like almost like Virtue's Ours, but we had two people who, sometimes, some of that fake it till you make it were there. I'm not going to deny that, right? What happened was we both delivered. That's what the matter. So she delivered at 1:30 a.m. or something, and then I delivered afterwards the project. Sure. I think entrepreneur is someone who sees an opportunity or who sees a problem, and finds a way to exploit it. Lack of better words, I'm using the word exploit it for greater good. And so what that means is they see this problem, they solve it, and they also find people who are willing to pay money for that solution.
Hey everyone, greetings for the day, and welcome you to another episode number 6 on Envision Shuvichi. Nowadays, startups, entrepreneurship, founder, co-founder, those type of words has become buzzwords. Even I have seen the young generation, there have been a trend on jumping into this industry, jumping into the field, being an entrepreneur. And also in universities, in some universities, they have dedicated separate modules for entrepreneurship as well. So to talk about this topic, this is a kind of broad topic. So to talk on this, am I meant to be an entrepreneur? I have invited to a special character for our show. He is none other than the founder and the CEO of Cassie Technologies, Mr. Mangala Karunaratne. So welcome you, sir, on board.
Hey, thank you, Shane, for having me, and looking forward to having this conversation with you.
So these days, how are you doing with this all the pandemic as well as power cuts, all the things?
The power cuts are really a thing, because in our industry, power is everything. People, the electricity, internet, computers, that's really what matters for us to keep going. And when you lose one of those, it's very challenging, and especially given people work from home these days. So it's been a bit challenging, but we've been managing so far, thanks to the team. They've been committed. So some people work around the power cuts, try to at least. So hopefully it won't last too long.
Yep. So without further ado, before 3 weeks, I went to Cassie, and when I was seated in the lobby for about 10 to 15 minutes, I was recalling one post which you shared on your Twitter account. It was a snap where you have been taken around 20 years back, if I'm not mistaken, where you're lying on a bench in a hospital, doing some coding, while your wife was in the delivery room. And exactly after 20 years, I'm sitting in a lobby of a huge company with a nice infrastructure and more than 170 employees. So definitely, I believe that throughout your journey, you might have so much of experience, stories to share with all the young budding entrepreneurs as well as who are in this side hustle. So my first question is, what made you start your own company?
So you're referring to this picture.
Yes,
I hope you can see.
yeah.
So I'll share that with you so you can add to the video.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so that's a picture I always keep because that day was the day my first kid was born. It meant, really big deal. So the early days, I'm gonna straight to go share that story because it means a lot to me. That's why. Yeah. I mean, we've been like barely. I had two people at that time, and they were pretty much, web developers. But we got this project that we were supposed to deliver a pretty decent knowledge base using Oracle, backend, all that. I didn't have people, so I worked with a bunch of freelancers. And we would work from Friday night to Monday morning. So they would come to my Maradan office, which I will also share that picture that it's on Twitter. So they would come there and we work Friday night to Monday morning. We probably would sleep Friday night, Saturday night for 4 to 5 hours. And then we would put like 40 plus hours of work, which is equal to a week worth time, right? But what happened was one of those guys really got burned out, understandably, because they also had a full-time job, day job. So this is what you had to do when you are an entrepreneur. I wouldn't do this now, but at that time we had desperate measures, right? We had to survive. That was a survival game. Our website looked like almost like Virtue's Ours, but we had two people who, sometimes, some of that fake it till you make it were there. I'm not going to deny that, right? Then on that day, August 2003, my project was due on that day, and that guy got burned out and he quit. So, and I was planning to be with my wife, and what happened was we both delivered. That's what the matter. So she delivered at 1:30 a.m. or something, and then I delivered afterwards the project.
So, yeah, so that was the caption, right? You both delivered.
I didn't go back to my client and say, hey, I can't, I did not want to let them down. So that's been our DNA ever since, though. I mean, we always try to deliver on time and never let our clients down.
That's inspiring. So, as I know, there's no proper definition for entrepreneurship startups, right? But I just want to get your beep on who's an entrepreneur. As well as right now, as I mentioned, startups has become a buzzword. Even when you're doing a small business, you're saying it's a startup. But it's there can be tech startups, there can be small businesses where you sell some bakery items or whatever. So there are some kind of difference between those words. So I just wanted to get your opinion on who's an exact entrepreneur is, as well as what is a startup.
Yeah. So I think, like you said, entrepreneurship and a startup is probably slightly differs. I think entrepreneur is someone who sees an opportunity or who sees a problem and finds a way to exploit it. Lack of better words, I'm using the word exploit it for greater good. And so what that means is they see this problem, they solve it, and they also find people who are willing to pay money for that solution. Why did I say greater good? I also don't consider like people who, I don't know, I mean, this is my opinion, I might be wrong, right? So there are a lot of ways to make money. wheeler dealing to trading to problem solving to all that, right? So the entrepreneur is someone, my definition, who sees an opportunity, who sees a problem, solves it, find people who are willing to pay money for it, and then also have a positive impact, who don't do unethical things. Anyone who do unethical things is a fraudster. So I wouldn't call them entrepreneur, right? So it has to be ethical. You need to be able to pay your people. I mean, every entrepreneur, there's a team behind them, right? It's the entrepreneur that you see in the media or the social media, but there's a team behind everyone. So you need to take care of those people. Those are the ones. Then when you take care of them, there's a ripple effect, positive effect. If I'm employing 200 people, those people are probably positively impacting at least 5 family members, let's say. Then it's 1,000 people, right? So that's the positive impact entrepreneurs bring to any economy or ecosystem. So like you said, now that's a buzzword, right? So there's a lot of rock star entrepreneurs, like, or elite entrepreneurs like Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos. They've all created this new type of sort of rock star entrepreneurs. So that's probably it's tip of the pyramid entrepreneurs. It's only the top of that iceberg. There's a lot of people who are not that cool. If you look at, in any game, let's say cricket, there's lots of people who play cricket wanting to be Sanat Jayasuriya or Aravind Silva, but not everybody goes there. So there's a lot that you don't see. A lot of pain, a lot of suffering, but a lot of people who don't get there. That you don't see in social media or the media or all that hyped up world on the stages. So is where that hype is being built. So you can't, it's for every Steve Jobs, probably thousands of failures too. But it's not to discourage people, but I think it's a side effect getting there. But I mean, you don't have to. You can still be, even if you are employing 10 people, doing an ethical business and if you are content, that's there's space for a lot of entrepreneurs who don't need to be rock stars or elite level. So that's kind of how I look at it. I think behind that all buzz and all, there is a team behind everyone. So those entrepreneurs need to be able to win the trust and the confidence of their team. That's how you get there. And then the other thing is tenacity, the grit, because it takes so many years to get there. So we maybe later on we can talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So when you're talking about the being rock stars, so what I'm seeing is like, if we take a one calendar year in Sri Lanka, there will be more than 50 startups being incorporated, right? So out of that, within first three years, out of that, 80% might be failing, if I'm not mistaken, most of the startups. So rather trying to be a rock star, if you can try to be sustained and without giving up this for about, maybe try out this for 5 years or 10 years. So that would be the biggest strength that an entrepreneur can have, as well as eventually you'll be a rock star. So that's what I feel.
Yeah. Very true. I don't think anybody should get into this unless they are willing to commit like 10 years of their life into it. So in my case, like I tell you, first 10 years of Kelsey, I work every day, every single day, including weekends, probably 16-hour days. So if you look at the number of hours I worked, it's probably equal to, within first 10 years, right? Probably equal to 25 years or 30 years of regular job. So because you do the math, 16 hours by 7, that's so typically people work 8 hours by 5, so 40 hours. So, and then you do every day for 10 years. That's now, if you look at the number of hours I spent, it's probably 25 years of regular job hours. So that's the kind of commitment you have to have. You also need to bring some key team members who would work with you like that and take care of them. So it's a, and then once you get to a certain level, then then still it's a huge responsibility. It's not like you said, it's all at rosy and rock star lifestyle. I'll tell you, like in March 2020, March or April 2020, when all this COVID news broke, lockdowns happened worldwide. Immediately we lost about close to 1/3 of our clients within 2 weeks. So imagine the stress that I went through, because it's that we are employing hundreds of people, and last thing I ever want to think of letting people go. That's not something, a lot of people think that's the first resort. For me, it's like the last resort. So we did everything to keep people. We didn't even cut salaries, etc. But luckily 3 months later we are back on track. Now we are growing gung-ho, because the longer lockdown COVID effects were very positive to our industry. So we had a lot more business. Now we can't keep up with the business. But that's initially, that's the kind of stress overnight you lose 1/3 of your clients, and the amount of stress you have is insane. You can't sleep at night. You wake up at night. That's the entrepreneurship, that reality of it. And sometimes also it's I would say, like, when you're the boss, it's kind of lonely up there too, because everybody treats you like the boss, like, oh, the CEO. There's that, it's tough in our culture. And then the last thing is like the time. It's so valuable, because when you're responsible, you're always working, and you're a founder or entrepreneur. So you have that end of the day, buck falls, everything is on your shoulder, right? At top, there's no one else for you to go to. So on social media, you might see me, like, mountain biking or camping or, on a boutique hotel or cooking something. But in reality, 80% of my time I probably spend staring at a screen. That's the reality. Yeah. So when people, ask how you're doing, you always say, great. But that weight behind that great is sometimes really you up.
It's like entrepreneurs are bleeding each and every day, right? So maybe in the first few years, when you don't have cash flow, you'll be frustrated because you need to somehow feed your fellow members. And like there can be so much of pressure from the outside. Maybe now, especially when you're in the IT industry, if you put some kind of a product, there are so many people who are waiting to find out bugs in there, like maybe on legal side or whatever. So it's kind of, entrepreneurship is all about taking risk and continuing the side hustle until you go to the destiny that you have believed before years.
I mean, it's like, what you see is, like I said, those rock star entrepreneurs. What you think you're gonna one day become like rich? If your goal is to become famous, rich, and cool, I mean, that's kind of a side effect that happens to few people. Majority is a long, winding journey of hard work, right? I mean, that's how I played the game, and it's never overnight. My overnight success took 10 plus years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Makes sense. Yeah,
so, I mean, I believe, so my way, the way I've done is like, I always set small goals. So let's say from year 1 to year 10, we accomplished really great accomplishments, right? But did I set all that goals up front in the year 1? No. My first goal was to make 10,000 profit in a year. So that took 3 or 4 years to accomplish that. Because at that time, it's a different, I mean, I think 3 years, yeah. So, and then you set another goal, and then you set another goal, accomplishable, realistic goal, and then you go, because then what happens is that you don't give up because you know it's realistic. That's my way. I mean, there are different people who do differently, right? Some people target the moon and go there, but I really wanted to accomplish. I didn't want to not accomplish those goals, so that's kind of why I've done. But if you play the game right, I mean, one day some of you guys, I mean, people may end up rich, famous, and cool. You know, that's kind of side effect.
So, in a tagline, what you see is not that much easy, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, moving to my next question. Right now, our country, the situation is might not that much good, right? We are facing a crisis with dollar rates and then power cuts and all these things. So, if you just go and ask from a fresh graduate, what are your future plans? Majority might say that they wanted to oversee and do some kind of a job in there, or move out of the country to do higher studies or whatever. But only few see some opportunities right now in our country. When there is a crisis, only few see there are opportunities, because what I see is, what I believe is, we can make the next IT hub in Sri Lanka. That's what I'm believing in next couple of years. We can do that. So my question is, I just want to get your opinion on this. There are so many opportunities, but at the same time, you see a huge queue in front of the passport office. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, I mean, okay, let me try to answer that without getting too political. But so, okay, let's look at migration of the young people and their goals, and the economy side as two separate things, right? So this migration, who am I to judge them? Because I left Sri Lanka when I was, after high school, and I went to US to study. So, and then I spent almost 12 years in US. So who am I to judge others for leaving? Okay, so I'm not going to do that. Yeah. It's individual circumstances differ. So each individual may have different circumstances, so they may see their opportunities differently. Some people see opportunities in Sri Lanka. There are a lot of opportunities in this country. Let's get to that later. Okay, but there are a lot of opportunities. Some people will see that. Some people will not stay here to exploit those opportunities. Some others will want to go to other countries and settle. It's just, you can't put everybody in this one basket and criticize them. At Calci, we also don't, a lot of people, when they come to us to migrate, we fully support them. We don't discourage them, because I don't think it's right for me or us to do that when we did it ourselves, right? So I went there, I built my network in the Silicon Valley. I came back and started Calci, and I used that network to grow this business. So that's being said. So I'm not gonna be in a position to criticize, but we should, as a country, as leaders, what we should do is we should create the Sri Lanka to be a place where people are a lot more hopeful to stay. give a lot more opportunities. So there's not everybody is an entrepreneur, right? There's majority of the people they just want to have a regular work-life balance, have a job, and do whatever. So there's few nut jobs like us who wanna work every day and build things and become entrepreneurs. So I think there's a great opportunity for that type here right now. But the thing is, those entrepreneurs need the people also to be in their team. So when the people leave, it's not gonna affect us positively. But like I said, so the solution is not to tell people, hey, or guilt trip people for migrating, because that's not the way. I think we need to create a lot more opportunities and fair and place where they want to live. They want to raise their kids. They want to send their kids to school in Sri Lanka, and then more will stay. The other part, like you said, the economic, I think the economy is like, let's look at the music analogy. When you have like this big sound mixer, there are hundreds of knobs. I'm not a music person, but I see there are hundreds of knobs. You don't get the right music output by fully turning one knob. It's a fine tuning of hundreds of knobs. So I personally think the government has to understand that. Right now they think tweaking one knob, which is locking the foreign exchange to 200, is going to solve all that problem. No, that's going to screw up a lot of other streams and collapse. So that's where the economic complexity. It's not as simple as locking, one knob. That's my opinion. So the opportunities wise, sometimes this, for the entrepreneurs, this is a great opportunity because not many people. So when the bad times happen, if you start something and if you survive, when the good times happening, you are up on the game. That's where the opportunities. You just need to find those opportunities and jump on it when no one else is doing.
So like right now, so someone who's listening to this podcast, and right now if he changes his mind to become an entrepreneur and jump into this, so what are the things that you need to have when you are starting a startup? Maybe like timing, or maybe the proper team. Like if you take an example, Airbnb, they launch it at the correct time because they saw the need and they launch it. And maybe Pick Me, so there was a need, so they went to at the correct time. And you might have a nice, a supportive founding team. So there are so many aspects. Maybe seed funding, you need to have a capital. So many aspects. So what do you define as the things that we need to start a startup?
I think, first of all, willing to commit that almost all your time for many, many years to come. If you're not, that's not for you, right? And then I don't believe in going into this for the sake of being an entrepreneur or for the sake of doing a startup. That's okay. Like you said, it's becoming a fad or the cool thing to do. But unless you have a purpose and really a drive towards solving that problem that you identify, I wouldn't get into this just because it's cool or it's the thing to do. Okay, number one. So like I said, it's not what you see. It's a lot of responsibilities. It's a lot of commitment, the time and all that is there. So one thing I would, looking back, I would do differently is I would have a co-founder. Right now, for me, when I was, last 20 years, it's nice to have someone that you could bounce ideas at the equal level. So I was kind of lonely at that level because I had to take all the responsibilities, everything from early days. I'm talking about sales to delivery to management to operations to everything. So it's really messes you up because all that's on your head. So I wish I would do this with a co-founder that from the get-go if possible. That's one. And then you asked
just
about the
to add
seed.
something for that, like
Yeah.
you need to have the correct blend in your team, right? Because
100%.
maybe one person can be so techie and the other person can be good in
100%.
marketing, right?
Yeah.
So
you gotta have someone complementary, not someone like you, someone absolutely opposite you. That's my opinion. Because why do you need someone like you? You're already there. Get someone who fills your gaps. So that's when it's complementary mix-up happens. Then you talk to each other for their strengths and weaknesses and creates a great team. That, and then you talk about seed funding, right? So it depends on the startup. When you go to investors, of course they are investors, they're not going to give you money for free. They need something in return, so you have to be willing to give a portion of the company for that money, and you have to be able to be very responsible. You need to treat that money. So it's again, I would say you have to be a lot more responsible about the investor money than your own money even. Mm-hmm. So so my recommendation is, like, when you are going to the investors, you can't just go with idea these days. There's so many ideas that means nothing. You have to go with some traction. So how do you, that's not easy. Nobody said startups is easy, right? Then everybody will be doing that. Yeah. So how do you, okay, let's say you don't have money, you need to get traction, you need to develop a product. It's a tough formula to crack. There's no silver bullet. My advice is do something before going to investors without raising money. Prove yourself, prove that you are worthy of investing. Just going with ideas, not the chance of you getting funding just with idea and without a track record is not high. It's not just Sri Lanka only, okay, anywhere in the world. So that's where you need to do something about it, whether it's part of the product development, getting some traction, or user signups. You need to show that you're committed, and you need to show your commitment.
Yeah, so I totally agree with that, because right now, if you take 10 students or 10 people, they have 10 different ideas. We can generate ideas even within a second, but the execution is what is matters, right? So you can have an idea, at the same time, if you can execute it, that's where you will be maybe labeled as an entrepreneur. So, and going to another question, like in your past 20 years at Kelsey building a company, definitely you might have failing points, winning points, rejections, right? Even at the beginning point, you might have done several pitch decks and might get rejected from clients. So how you're going to face those type of rejections throughout your journey as an entrepreneur?
Thank God for those rejections. Mm-hmm. If those rejections didn't happen, I would have given up. So what happens is, when people rejects me, I kind of take it personally. I'm like, I make it my goal to prove them wrong, right? So if they didn't reject me, I don't have a drive. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I may have a chip on my shoulder, but that's kind of what got me going. When people reject, I'm like, oh, great, so I'm going to prove this person wrong. If they didn't reject me, if they just complimented me, I probably wouldn't have been that driven. So I call rejections are my steroids. So that's, I would say they've been my biggest blessing. It pisses me off when I get rejected. I convert that into work, that energy or whatever into work, and then I prove them wrong. That's kind of really helped me. And also, like, for me, I don't get too stimulated or I don't seek compliments. But I love constructive criticism. I get so much stimulated up here when people constructively criticize me. You know why? Because constructive criticism helps you improve. Compliments doesn't do anything. It just makes you happy for the short run, and that's it. I recommend everybody to read this book by Ray Dalio called Principles. That's a great book, and that's kind of I agree almost 100% of what's in that book. I can relate to a lot of it. That's why it's been. If anybody asks me what's my favorite book, that would be that. And also, like, one more point. When it comes to advice, the way I work is I'm not a good advice taker. Advice goes on my head like this. I set myself to do something and I just don't listen. I don't listen to anybody. I just do it, right? So I'm not doing those things like in a I do them in a calculated manner. I know, so I set mini risks. So people say don't do it, you're gonna fail, right? Okay, sure. But then I calculated the cost of failure. I make sure the cost of failure is something that's not gonna bankrupt me. I can afford. So those are calculated risk taking. So that's the only way I learn. I don't learn by listening to people. Some people learn by taking advice. I don't necessarily take advice unless I really look up to that person, and it's just very few people that could advise me that I listen to. But I learn all making mistakes. By making mistakes, that way I never forget those. I never forget those lessons. It's just you need to be smart enough to make mistakes that not going to bankrupt you. That's what I mean. Failure is the thing that we should encourage. Calculated failures. That's where really people could learn a lot from that. So when I said that I take these calculated mini risks, some of them have worked. So then they multiply effect positively. They grow, they help, and then whatever those failures, they're calculated. So when you take 10 risks, if 6 works, you're up on the game.
So it's like definitely you have thousands of failing points in that journey. So what you need to do is if you see that you're going to fail fast, learn and move on. That's what I'm believing. Yep.
So I also teach this to my kid. So my son wanted to go to university. He wasn't sure which major to take, right? So he was debating between mechanical engineering and computer science. So I told him, hey, why don't you take 2 summer courses? So he took CS50 from Harvard online, all free online. Anybody can take it. So I directed him to these 2 courses. So he took CS50 and he loved it. And then he that's a mini risk. So you spend 2 months at best of your time taking that class. Worst case, you don't like it, but you don't like it then blindly jumping into a 4-year degree program. So he liked it, and then he chose computer science. So that's really rather than he could have taken advice from somebody, hey, do computer science, no, this, that. But who knows? Who are we to tell him what to do? He needs to trial and error and realize it. That's kind of, so I kind of empathize. I don't when people also are stuck in it. So my advice is always try a little bit, figure it out yourself.
That's super parenting, right?
I hope so.
Right. So we are running out of time as well. So with that note, we can wind up. And I'd like to thank for spending your valuable time as well as sharing all your experience. Maybe it may be just a small bit of experience of you. By the way, thanks a lot for sharing all the things with us, and wish you all the best with your future endeavors as well as with your company.
Hey, thank you so much, Ashen. Thank you very much for the time, and I hope this will help people. Yeah, thank you.
Right, so thanks a lot, Mangala, as well as each and everyone who is listening, and have a nice day as well as stay safe. Bye-bye.